Hello and welcome to AV Team channel. My name is Vilas. Traveling to Rajasthan was on my mind for a long time. It is the largest Indian state and covers over 10% of India's total geographical area. It was rather difficult to do the entire journey from Mumbai and back on a bicycle, so I decided to take a train to Jaipur and make good use of trains and my bicycle. I always go a few hours early to the railway station for booking my bicycle on the same train that I am traveling on. After completing the paperwork and personally wrapping my bicycle, she was ready for the long journey. If you want to know the procedure for traveling with your bike on Indian Railways, I have made a separate video that you can watch. Indian Railways must be the most economical mass transit system in the world. For traveling a distance of over 1100 kilometers, I paid under 600 rupees or $10 Canadian. That included a sleeper reserved berth and the travel agent's commission. I love traveling on second class sleeper trains. Generally speaking, most of the co passengers are friendly. If you yourself do not have any hang ups, they are willing to share their homemade food with you. After a few hours in the journey, it feels as if you are a part of one big family. Entire state of Rajasthan attracts a few hundred million tourists each year. It is a very popular destination for Indian as well as international tourists. Most of these touristic places have hundreds of hotels. Jaipur, being close to Delhi and having so many tourist attractions, has over 1000 hotels, a few hundred homestays, villas, guest houses, hostels, and even palaces where one can stay. Choices are unlimited. During this solo Rajasthan bicycle tour, I had decided to try and stay in hostels. Many years ago, I think it was in 1984, I had stayed in a youth hostel in Delhi and the experience was great. But now, at my age, well past 60, I didn't know if I could fit in the hostel culture, which is basically meant for young backpackers and budget travelers. Before leaving Mumbai, I had done my research. In Jaipur, I had decided to stay in Moustache Hostel, a rather funny name, but the reviews were good. My email communications were responded quickly. My main concern was safety of my bicycle, but the staff had assured me that there was a private parking area only for bicycles and there was a 24/7 security at the gate. If you have not stayed in a hostel before and only stayed in posh hotels, it may not be suitable for you. I got in a 6-bed dorm that had two other young occupants. The bathroom for a dorm is common but quite spacious and relatively clean. Depends upon each person's definition of cleanliness, of course. Hostels are cool places where you meet so many fellow travelers, Indian as well as international. हाँ फ्रंट व्यू है, आपको लगता है फ्रंट व्यू है लेकिन वो पीछे का भी ले रहा है क्योंकि लेंस है ना दोनों साइड। ऐसे आपको ये बेसिकली इट्स अ एक्शन कैमरा। ओके तो नहीं अभी जैसे मैं किसी एक ट्रैवल ब्लॉगर को फॉलो कर। On the way to Hawa Mahal, you must have seen several pink color buildings that is a trademark of Jaipur. In 1727, pink was chosen by the architect Vidyadhar Bhattacharya as the color of hospitality. In the afternoon, I made my way to Hawa Mahal, a palace in the city of Jaipur and built from red and pink sandstone. Hundreds of small windows called jharokas were to allow royal ladies to observe everyday life and festivals celebrated in the street below without being seen. This architectural feature allowed cool air from the Venturi effect to pass through, thus making the entire area pleasant during the high temperature in summer. Jaipur was then the first planned city of India, but those plans clearly do not work 300 years later. Honestly, I didn't quite enjoy the beauty of Hawa Mahal because of crazy traffic and constant honking. So, within few minutes I left. Someone at the hostel had suggested me to visit Rawat sweet shop. It's absolutely mind-boggling to see the variety of sweets they have. They claim to have invented pyaz ki kachori or an onion kachori. It was most definitely one of the best kachoris I ever had in my life. Mid-October to February is the very best season to visit Rajasthan. I was there in September, which is slightly hot but less crowded. When I returned, the entire dawn was to myself. No one came till I was asleep, and I slept early so I could get up early the next morning and bike to Nahargarh fort. Depending on how energetic you feel, there are two ways of reaching the fort. With the thought of visiting a fort after a long time, I was feeling quite energetic. I biked to Chandpol Bazaar in Old City. Little did I know that the way up is cobblestone path. Hiking up the path is one thing, but pushing a bicycle was not very enjoyable. Most of the locals take this route up either walking or on their motorcycles.
ये है मोहम्मद और आपका नाम हसन। ये मुझे मिले किला चढ़ने के समय। कौन सा किले का नाम है? नाहरगढ़ फोर्ट।
Slowly but steadily, I kept climbing. I always carry enough water with me on my bike as well as in my backpack so I can keep myself hydrated. Rajasthan in early September is hot and very sunny. This was a small taste of my physical and mental endurance because in the days ahead I was to come across harsher weather. In Jaisalmer, I had heard that the temperatures was well over 40 degrees Celsius, but let me take one day at a time. By the time I reached the entrance to the fort, there were already some young tourists waiting for the gates to the fort to open. I do not understand as to why the fort can't open for tourists, say at 6 in the morning. Unfortunately, the fort also closes at 5 pm. Rajasthan is sunny and hot, so basically all tourists, small kids, elderly people have to be here during hot to very hot hours of the day. In fact, I would have loved to spend a night on the fort. The ticket for this historical fort of Nahargarh costs 50 rupees for Indian nationals and 200 rupees for foreign tourists. For both Indian as well as foreign students, the tickets are discounted. Rupees 25 for Indian students and 50 rupees for foreign students. There are two bawris or step wells at Nahargarh fort. While the smaller of the two wells is near the Madhavendra Bhavan, the most popular one is near the Nahargarh entrance from the city. The popular song Masti Ki Pathshala from a famous movie Rang De Basanti was filmed here. The fort was built as a defense system with these two step wells or water storage systems. This water reservoir provided the entire army on the fort enough water to outlast a long siege by the enemy forces. The water system in Nahargarh fort forms an important part of its architecture. The entire process of water collection is a matter of detailed study. It is surprising to learn how such a sophisticated water collection system could be built 300 years ago. Nahargarh Fort was constructed as a place of retreat on the summit of the ridge above the city. Walls extended over the surrounding hills, forming fortifications that connected this fort to Jaigarh, the fort above the old capital of Amer. Though the fort never came under attack during the course of its history, it did see some historical events, notably the treaties with the Maratha forces who warred with Jaipur in 18th century. During the very first uprising against the British in 1857, also referred to as Indian Mutiny, the Europeans of the region, including the British resident's wife, were moved to Nahargarh Fort by the King of Jaipur, Savai Ram Singh, for their protection. The fort is built in a typical Rajput pattern that one finds across hill forts of Rajasthan. There are a total of 3 entry gates in the fort. While 2 of these are outer gates, a single gate provides access to Madhavendra Bhavan. It consists 9 chambers for the queens. There is a section for the king as well. The palace consists of a maze of courtyards, passageways and terraces. Each female section is connected by 2 passageways. The first one was meant only for the king, with a design that facilitated the discreet movement of the king. Each dwelling unit is complete in itself. It consisted of rooms for winter and summer, a kitchen, a toilet, and also sections to accommodate maids. The design of Madhavendra Bhavan looks like a typical Rajput architecture of this region, but its execution and detailing depicts it as a modern and European. Many years ago, I think it was in 1996, I had come to Jaipur for a day but on a business trip. I wasn't able to visit any of the touristic places. Forts are my weakness. I grew up in Maharashtra and was always fascinated by the forts in the rugged Sahyadri hills. During my school and college days, I was fortunate to hike to many of those forts. Subconsciously, I was tempted to compare those forts with this, but I think I should keep my views on that for some other time. Nahargarh Fort stands on the edge of the Aravalli Hills, overlooking the city of Jaipur. It was built by Maharaja Savai Jai Singh as a part of a defense system for Jaipur. He founded Jaipur in 1727 as a promising alternative to Amer, the previous capital of the region. Nahargarh Fort was built in 1734 AD. Initially, it was called Sudarshangarh. Later, it was renamed Nahargarh, meaning abode of tigers in the local language. There were never any tigers here, but the name was changed only to quell the spirit of Nahar Singh Bhomia. The most interesting legend or haunted story associated with Nahargarh Fort is that of a strange happening during the building of the fort. Laborers would return the following morning to find parts of the fort built by them damaged during the night. This continued for many days until a few tantric rites were carried out. It was claimed that in the past this place was owned by Nahar Singh Bhomia and his spirit did not like the construction activity leading to these strange events. The Pondarik Ji, a royal priest, promised the spirit that the temple would be built, and this is the story of Nahar Singh temple on this fort. Before leaving for the fort, I had my breakfast, but it was not heavy enough. I expected to get something to eat on the top of the fort, but since it was not too busy there, and I being one of the first few tourists that day, there were no food stalls or vendors anywhere. The breakfast that I had was just not enough after pushing my bicycle and climbing the 700-foot high fort. Once onto the top, I also had walked quite a lot. I was very hungry. The RTDC or Rajasthan Tourism Department run Padav restaurant had not reopened after COVID, but I wouldn't complain. These places are normally not only exorbitantly expensive, but the food quality is not the best because very few people want to come and eat in such places. Diwan-e Khas, the family restaurant, was the only other choice available, and I was really very hungry. There was only one other family eating there and me. The actual tourist season had not started. The owner was quite friendly. I ordered dal bati churma, thali, lasun chutney, and of course buttermilk. The food was okay, but slightly expensive. Well, when you are eating near a palace, you pay. After having a heavy lunch, I relaxed for about an hour or so under a tree and then started my way back to the city. Back to cobblestones. Climbing up, pushing your bicycle is easier than going down. Because of cobblestones and these steep slopes, you can't ride the bike. And with years of use by horse carriages, elephants, and now the motorbikes, the cobblestones are polished and slippery. Keeping both hands on the brakes, I descended slowly. I should have taken the Nahargarh hill road that winds through the hilly terrain that is about 30 odd kilometers farther, but I believe it is a tar road meant for cars. That would have been easier for biking, but I realized that only after I came almost halfway down on the cobblestone path. In the next video, we will visit the other two forts around Jaipur. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, please do and leave your comments in the comment section area. Thanks for watching.